The Barzan Galactic Council had always mocked humans, until they learned we live on Earth. High Counselor Karos called the emergency session to order, his tentacles twitching with barely contained disdain. The Grand Chamber on planet Zar 7 buzzed with the low murmurs of council members, all gathered to address an unprecedented event: the arrival of a human ambassador. Karos's voice boomed through the hall, silencing the chatter. Esteemed colleagues, we face a situation that defies our understanding. Humans, those primitive creatures we long dismissed, have somehow managed to reach our capital. He activated a holographic display showing a barren, storm-ravaged planet. This is Earth, as our long-range scans revealed it centuries ago. We deemed it an uninhabitable wasteland, unworthy of further study. Laughter rippled through the assembly. Counselor Zex, a respected scientist, chimed in. Surely, no intelligent life could evolve in such harsh conditions. The mirth was cut short as the chamber doors slid open. Ambassador Richard Miller strode in, his posture straight, his gaze steady. The Barzans fell silent, their compound eyes widening in surprise. Karos's skin shifted to a deeper shade of blue, betraying his unease. Ambassador Miller, you may address the council. Enlighten us about your species. Miller stepped forward, activating his own holographic display. Honorable council members, I stand before you as a representative of humanity, a species that has not merely survived on Earth, but thrived. Images flashed across the display, vast cities rising from deserts, underwater habitats defying crushing pressures, orbital stations circling the planet. The council members leaned forward, their mandibles clicking in agitation. Earth is not a wasteland, Miller continued, his voice steady. It is a crucible that forged humanity into a resilient, adaptable species. We've harnessed the power of our world's extremes, turning challenges into opportunities. He displayed charts of rapid technological advancement, footage of spacecraft landing on other planets in Earth's solar system. The Barzans shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Karos interrupted, his voice sharp. These claims are outrageous. Where is your proof? Miller smiled, tapping his device. A new hologram sprang to life, filling the chamber with vivid scenes from Earth. Lush rainforests teeming with life, bustling metropolises reaching towards the sky, spacecraft launching from multiple continents. The council chamber fell deathly quiet. Karos stared, his multiple hearts racing as the implications sank in. A species that could not only survive but excel on a planet the Barzans had written off as uninhabitable was a force to be reckoned with. This cannot be, Karos stammered, rising from his seat. We require time to verify these claims. This session is in recess. As the stunned council members filed out, Miller remained, watching their reactions with calm interest. In the corridor outside, Zex hurried towards Karos, clutching a datapad. High Counselor, Zex panted, I've been monitoring Earth covertly. The ambassador's claims, they're true, and there's more. Karos snatched the pad, his eyes darting across the screen. With each swipe, his complexion paled further. The Barzans had gravely miscalculated, and now they faced a species whose potential they could scarcely comprehend. As the reality of the situation sank in, Karos realized that the galaxy as they knew it was about to change. The humans were here, and they were far from the primitive creatures the Barzans had mocked. They were a force that demanded respect, and perhaps even fear. As the council members filed back into the Grand Chamber, the air crackled with tension. Ambassador Miller stood at the center, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the agitated Barzans surrounding him. High Counselor Karos took his place at the podium, his tentacles twitching with nervous energy. Ambassador Miller, Karos began, his voice carrying a hint of strain. We have reconsidered our initial assessment of your species. We request further information about your world and its inhabitants. Miller nodded, tapping his device. The chamber darkened as a series of holograms sprang to life, surrounding the council members with vivid scenes from Earth. Esteemed council, Miller said, his voice steady, allow me to show you the true face of humanity. The first hologram depicted a team of deep-sea explorers navigating the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench. Barzan council members leaned forward, their compound eyes reflecting the eerie bioluminescence of Earth's deepest ocean. These researchers, Miller explained, operate in pressures that would crush most species. Yet through innovation and adaptability, we've learned to thrive even in these extreme conditions. The scene shifted to a group of climbers scaling the icy slopes of Mount Everest. Their breath formed clouds in the thin air as they inched towards the summit. At these altitudes, oxygen is scarce, Miller continued, but humans have developed techniques and technologies to push beyond our natural limits. Zex, the junior scientist, spoke up. But surely these are exceptions. Specialized individuals trained for these environments. Miller smiled. On the contrary, Counselor Zex, while these are indeed trained professionals, the drive to explore and adapt is inherent in all humans. The hologram changed again, this time showing a bustling research station in the Sahara Desert. Scientists moved between solar-powered buildings, studying the arid landscape. In the harshest deserts and frozen tundras, Miller said, we've established thriving communities. Each environment has taught us new lessons, driving our innovation further. Karos's skin rippled with a mix of colors, betraying his unease. And what of your ventures beyond Earth? Surely a species so recently confined to a single planet cannot have... Miller interrupted by expanding the holographic display. A detailed map of Earth's solar system appeared, dotted with glowing points representing human outposts and exploration sites. We have established permanent bases on our moon and on Mars, Miller stated. Our probes and satellites have explored every planet in our system and even ventured into interstellar space. The council erupted into chaos. Voices overlapped as members argued amongst themselves. Some called for immediate defensive measures, while others advocated for further engagement with the humans. Karos slammed his appendage on the podium. Order! We must approach this situation with caution and... High Counselor, Miller interjected, if I may make a proposal. Karos hesitated, then nodded. I suggest a cultural exchange program, Miller said. Allow Barzan scientists and diplomats to visit Earth, see our achievements firsthand. In return, we would welcome the opportunity to learn more about your civilization. The chamber buzzed with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Counselor Zex's eyes gleamed with curiosity, while others shrank back in their seats. Before Karos could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A tall, imposing Barzan strode in, his exoskeleton bearing the marks of numerous battles. High Counselor, the newcomer announced, we have a situation. Karos's color shifted to a pale blue. Council members, this is Admiral Vex, head of our defense force. Admiral, what is the meaning of this interruption? Vex's mandibles clicked as he spoke. Our long-range sensors have detected a fleet of unknown vessels approaching Barzan space. They're moving at speeds we've never encountered before. The council fell silent. All eyes turned to Miller, who stood motionless, processing the information. Ambassador, Karos said, his voice low and dangerous, would you care to explain? Miller's brow furrowed. Without more information, I can't be certain. But based on the description, it sounds like it could be a human exploration fleet. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber. Exploration fleet? Vex scoffed. Moving at those speeds? Miller nodded. We've recently developed a propulsion system that allows for faster-than-light travel. It's how I arrived here so quickly. The revelation sent shockwaves through the council. Karos gripped the podium, his appendages trembling. Admiral Vex, Karos ordered, prepare our defenses. We can't take any chances. Wait, Miller exclaimed. Let me contact Earth. I can confirm the fleet's intentions and prevent any misunderstandings. Miller reached for his communication device but found no signal. He looked up at Karos, realization dawning. You're jamming our communications. Karos's skin flushed a deep purple. A necessary precaution, Ambassador. We find ourselves in a delicate situation. As the council devolved into arguments and panic, Zex approached Miller discreetly. Ambassador, she whispered, I may be able to help you establish contact with your fleet. Meet me in Research Lab 7 in 1 hour. Miller nodded imperceptibly, then turned his attention back to the chaotic scene before him. Karos was shouting orders, Vex was mobilizing defense forces, and the fate of human-Barzan relations hung in the balance. As Miller watched the frantic activity around him, he knew that the next few hours would be crucial. The approaching human fleet, unaware of the panic they were causing, could either spark a devastating conflict or usher in a new era of interstellar cooperation. And somehow, he had to find a way to ensure it was the latter. As Miller watched the frantic activity around him, a low rumble reverberated through the council chamber. The Barzan officials froze, their compound eyes swiveling toward the ceiling. Admiral Vex burst through the doors, his exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. "High Counselor," Vex announced, his mandibles clicking rapidly, "the human fleet has entered our system. They're approaching Zar 7 at an unprecedented velocity." Karos's skin rippled with a kaleidoscope of colors, betraying his mixture of fear and awe. "How many vessels?" 15, sir. Their flagship is massive." The council erupted into chaos. Shouts and arguments filled the air as the Barzans grappled with the reality of the situation. Miller stood silently, his mind racing. He knew he had to act fast to prevent a catastrophe. Karos slammed his appendage on the podium. "Silence! Admiral Vex, mobilize the defense force. Position our warships in a defensive formation around the planet." As Vex hurried out to carry out the orders, Miller approached Karos. "High Counselor, please. Let me contact the fleet. I can explain." "You've done enough, Ambassador," Karos hissed. "For all we know, this is an invasion force you've led straight to our doorstep." Miller opened his mouth to protest, but a gentle touch on his arm stopped him. He turned to see Zex, her eyes glimmering with dedication. "Follow me," she whispered. "We don't have much time." They slipped out of the chamber unnoticed, the confusion providing perfect cover. Zex led Miller through a maze of corridors, eventually arriving at a small, cluttered laboratory. "We need to establish communication with your fleet," Zex said, pulling out various pieces of equipment. "If we combine your technology with ours, we might be able to break through the jamming field." Miller nodded, reaching into his pocket for his personal communicator. Together they worked feverishly, connecting wires and aligning frequencies. The makeshift transmitter hummed to life, its lights blinking erratically. Meanwhile, in orbit around Zar 7, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus. The massive view screen before her showed the Barzan warship scrambling into formation. "Status report," Chen barked. Her tactical officer responded, "Barzan vessels moving into defensive positions, Captain. No weapons powered up yet, but their posture is decidedly unfriendly." Chen frowned. This wasn't the welcome they had expected. "Any word from Ambassador Miller?" "Negative, Captain. We're detecting a strong jamming field emanating from the planet's surface." Chen's fingers drummed on the armrest of her chair. "Keep trying, and bring our shields to full power. I want weapons on standby, but do not engage unless fired upon." Back on the planet's surface, Miller and Zex worked frantically to boost their signal. Sweat beaded on Miller's forehead as he made a final adjustment. "That's it," he breathed. "Let's hope this works." He activated the transmitter, speaking clearly into the improvised microphone. "This is Ambassador Richard Miller calling UES Prometheus. Captain Chen, do you read me?" Seconds ticked by in agonizing silence. Then, with a burst of static, a familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Ambassador Miller, this is Captain Chen. What in blazes is going on down there?" Miller exhaled in relief. "Captain, we have a serious situation. The Barzans are on high alert. They've misinterpreted your arrival as a potential invasion." Chen's voice was tense. "Understood. We've noticed their defensive posturing. Should we withdraw?" "Negative," Miller replied. "That might be seen as an admission of hostile intent. Hold your position, but do not make any aggressive moves. I'm working on defusing the situation here." As Miller spoke, alarms blared throughout the Barzan Military Command Center. Admiral Vex loomed over a holographic display, watching as the human ships entered orbit. "Their technology is incredible," Vex muttered. "How can they maneuver so precisely at those speeds?" A junior officer approached, saluting nervously. "Admiral, High Counselor Karos is demanding an update." Vex's mandibles clicked in irritation. Tell him we're adjusting our strategies to account for the humans' advanced propulsion. And get me Commander Draz. I want our prototype energy weapon ready to fire at a moment's notice. In the council chamber, Karos paced restlessly. The assembled officials watched in tense silence as he considered their options. We cannot allow these humans to dictate terms, Karos declared. If they do not withdraw immediately, we must strike first. It's the only way to ensure our survival. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room, but one voice rose in opposition. High Counselor, with all due respect, that would be a grave mistake. All eyes turned to the speaker, a grizzled Barzan diplomat named Thrix. He stepped forward, his exoskeleton bearing the marks of many years in service. I've studied the data we have on humans, Thrix continued. They are not conquerors by nature. If we attack first, we risk turning a potential ally into an implacable enemy. Karos's skin flushed a deep purple. And if we do nothing, we risk annihilation. The debate raged on, neither side willing to back down. Meanwhile, in orbit, the situation grew increasingly tense. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Chen received an urgent message from her tactical officer. Captain, we're detecting an energy buildup on one of the Barzan ships. It doesn't match any weapon signature in our database. Chen's eyes narrowed. Shields to maximum. Prepare evasive maneuvers, but do not fire unless I give the order. Suddenly, a blinding beam of energy lanced out from the Barzan fleet, striking the Prometheus. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout its decks. Damage report, Chen shouted over the chaos. Her chief engineer's voice came through, strained and urgent. Primary propulsion is offline, Captain. Shields held, but barely. One more hit like that and we're in serious trouble. Chen's fist tight. Battle stations. Power up all weapon systems. Someone down there just made a very big mistake. As the human fleet moved into an offensive formation, Miller felt the blood drain from his face. He turned to Zex, his eyes wide with horror. We need to get to the council chamber, now. They raced through the corridors, their footsteps echoing in the suddenly empty hallways. As they burst into the chamber, they found Karos shouting orders into a communication device. High Counselor, Miller called out. You must order an immediate ceasefire. The situation is spiraling out of control. Karos whirled to face him, his skin a mottled mix of colors. You! How dare you return here? Your people have attacked us. No, Miller said firmly. Someone on your side fired first, but there's still time to prevent this from becoming a full-scale war. As Karos hesitated, torn between fear and reason, Miller made a decision. He turned to Zex, his expression grim but determined. I need your help. We're going up there. Zex's compound eyes widened. What? How? We're going to borrow a shuttle, Miller said, already moving towards the exit. It's time to put myself between these trigger-happy fleets before they blow each other to oblivion. As they raced towards the shuttle bay, the fate of two species hung in the balance. The next few moments would determine whether this first contact would end in bloodshed or herald a new era of interstellar cooperation. Cooperation. Miller gripped the shuttle's controls, his nucleus tightening as he maneuvered between the two fleets. Zex sat beside him, her compound eyes darting between the view screen and the communications panel. Ambassador, Zex said, her voice tense, we're receiving a transmission from the Barzan fleet. Miller nodded, his fist tight. Put it through. The harsh voice of Commander Draz filled the shuttle's cockpit. Human vessel, you will order your fleet to withdraw immediately, or we will destroy you. Miller's eyes narrowed. Commander Draz, I presume. This is Ambassador Richard Miller. I urge you to reconsider your actions. We can still purpose this peacefully. Peaceful resolution? Draz scoffed. Your advanced ships threaten our very existence. You have 1 hour to comply, or we open fire. The transmission cut off abruptly. Miller exchanged a worried glance with Zex. We need to contact both fleets, he said. Maybe we can buy some time. As Miller and Zex worked frantically to establish communications, chaos erupted on the bridge of the UES Prometheus. Alarms blared as the ship shuddered from another near miss. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Status report! Shields at 60%, Captain, her tactical officer responded. The Barzan ships are becoming more aggressive, but their maneuvers are predictable. Chen nodded, her mind racing. Implement evasion pattern Delta 3. I want us to stay one step ahead of them at all times. As the Prometheus glided gracefully through space, effortlessly avoiding the Barzan attacks, murmurs of awe rippled through the enemy fleet. Admiral Vex watched the human ships with a mixture of fascination and dread. How are they moving like that? It defies everything we know about propulsion and inertia. A junior officer approached, saluting nervously. Admiral, we've received new orders from High Counselor Karos. We're to hold our position, but avoid further engagement. Vex's mandibles clicked in frustration. Very well, but keep our weapons primed. I don't trust these humans, no matter how impressive their technology may be. On the surface of Zar 7, the Barzan Council chamber had devolved into chaos. High Counselor Karos struggled to maintain order as factions argued vehemently. We must strike now, shouted one council member, his exoskeleton flushed with agitation. The humans have shown their true colors. They seek to conquer us. Fool, retorted another, her compound eyes flashing. Can't you see the opportunity before us? Their technology could revolutionize our society. We should be extending an olive branch, not readying our weapons. Karos slammed his appendage on the podium, silencing the room. Enough! This bickering solves nothing. We need a direct line of communication with Earth's leadership. As the council members murmured in surprise, Karos turned to his advisors. Prepare a transmission to Earth's governing body. It's time we spoke leader to leader. In the depths of space, Miller's shuttle continued its precarious position between the fleets. Suddenly, a massive energy signature erupted from the planet's surface. By the stars, Zex gasped, her sensors overwhelmed. What is that? Miller's eyes widened as he saw enormous cannons emerging from Zar 7's crust. It can't be some kind of planetary defense system? Before they could react, the cannons opened fire, sending searing beams of energy towards both fleets. Ships on both sides scattered, narrowly avoiding destruction. On the Prometheus, Captain Chen barked orders as her crew scrambled to respond. Evasive maneuvers! All power to shields! As the human and Barzan fleets danced around the deadly energy beams, Chen's tactical officer shouted, Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Vex. Chen nodded grimly. Put him through. Admiral Vex's face appeared on the display, his mandibles twitching with tension. Captain Chen, it appears we face a common enemy. Commander Draz has activated an ancient defense system, threatening us all. Chen's eyes narrowed. What are you proposing, Admiral? A joint operation, Vex replied. Your technology combined with our knowledge of the planet. It may be our only chance to neutralize this threat. Chen considered for a moment, then nodded. Agreed. Let's put together a team. Within minutes, a specially modified shuttle launched from the Prometheus, carrying a mixed group of human and Barzan specialists. Dr. Marcus Wong, Earth's foremost expert in alien technology, sat beside Lyra, a seasoned Barzan weapons specialist. As they entered Zar 7's atmosphere, the shuttle rocked violently, buffeted by attacks from both the automated defenses and Draz's loyalists. Hold on, shouted the pilot, a young human lieutenant named Jared. This is going to get bumpy. Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly as she analyzed the incoming fire. Adjust course 3 degrees starboard. There's a gap in their coverage. Jared complied, and the shuttle slipped through the barrage unscathed. Dr. Wong looked at Lyra with newfound respect. Nice catch. Looks like we make a good team. As the shuttle streaked towards the planet's surface, Miller and Zex continued their efforts from space. Using their unique position, they gathered crucial intelligence about Draz's operations, relaying information to both fleets. Ambassador, Zex said urgently, I'm detecting a concentration of energy signatures near the planet's equator. It could be the control center for the defense system. Miller nodded, quickly transmitting the coordinates to the joint team. Let's hope they can use this information. The fate of both our species may depend on it. On the planet's surface, the mixed human-Barzan team fought their way through waves of Draz's followers. Dr. Wong and Lyra found themselves pinned down behind a twisted piece of alien machinery, energy blasts sizzling overhead. "We need to reach that control room," Wong shouted over the din of battle. "Any ideas?" Lyra's compound eyes scanned the area rapidly. "There," she pointed, "that ventilation shaft. It should lead us directly to the main chamber." Wong grinned. "Crawling through vents, just like in the old movies. Let's do it." As they scrambled through the claustrophobic passageway, Wong couldn't help but marvel at the complexity of the Barzan technology surrounding them. "This is incredible," he muttered. "The integration of organic and mechanical components is light years beyond anything we've achieved." Lyra glanced back at him, her mandibles twitching in what Wong was beginning to recognize as a smile. "Perhaps there is much our peoples could learn from each other, Dr. Wong." They emerged into a vast chamber dominated by a pulsing, crystalline structure. Holographic displays flickered around it, showing the battle raging in orbit. "This must be it," Wong breathed. "The main control interface." As they approached the alien console, Lyra hesitated. "Dr. Wong, I must admit, I've never seen technology quite like this. It appears to be far older than our current systems." Wong nodded, his fingers hovering over the shimmering controls. "Then we'll figure it out together. Two heads are better than one, even if they're from different species." As they worked feverishly to decipher the ancient Barzan technology, the battle above reached a fever pitch. Human and Barzan ships, once enemies, now flew in formation, protecting each other from the relentless assault of the planetary cannons. In the council chamber on Zar 7, High Counselor Karos stood before a massive screen, facing the somber faces of Earth's United Nations Security Council. "Honorable representatives of Earth," Karos began, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "We stand at a crossroads. The actions of a rogue faction have brought us to the brink of war, but I believe there is still hope for peace between our peoples." As Karos spoke, Miller's voice crackled over the communication system. "High Counselor, Earth leaders, this is Ambassador Miller. I urge you all to look at the battle unfolding above us. Humans and Barzans, fighting side by side against a common threat. If we can cooperate in war, surely we can find a way to coexist in peace." The chamber fell silent as the implications of Miller's words sank in. In that moment of quiet, a new transmission cut through. Dr. Wong's voice, tight with tension, but tinged with excitement. "This is Dr. Wong. We've accessed the main control system. With Lyra's help, I think we can shut it down. But we need time." As Wong's words faded, all eyes turned to the screens showing the battle above. Human and Barzan ships danced in an intricate ballet, their once opposing technologies now working in perfect harmony. In that moment, the seeds of a new era of interstellar cooperation were planted, nurtured by the shared crucible of conflict. But the battle was nowhere near the end. As Wong and Lyra raced against time to disable the ancient defenses, and Miller and Zex continued their delicate diplomatic dance in orbit, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The next few moments would determine whether this first contact would end in triumph or tragedy. Tragedy. The tension in the air was palpable as Miller and Zex worked feverishly in their shuttle, their fingers dancing across the control panels. Suddenly, Zex's antennae twitched. "Ambassador, I've detected something unusual. A hidden frequency." Miller leaned in, his eyes widening. "Can you isolate it?" "Yes, I think so," Zex replied, her compound eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the console. "It appears to be a direct channel to the Barzan population, bypassing Draz's communication blocks." A spark of hope ignited in Miller's chest. "This is our chance. We need to broadcast to the Barzan people immediately." As Zex worked to establish the connection, Miller composed his thoughts. The fate of two civilizations rested on his words. The console chimed, indicating a successful link. Miller took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice steady and clear. "People of Zar 7, this is Ambassador Richard Miller of Earth. I come to you with an urgent message of truth and hope. The conflict you see above your world is not what it seems. Humanity did not come here to conquer or destroy. We came seeking friendship and understanding. As Miller's words echoed across Zar 7, the planet's surface became a sea of upturned faces and twitching antennae. In homes, workplaces, and public squares, Barzans gathered around communication devices, listening intently. Even now, as energy beams threaten both our fleets, humans and Barzans work side by side to save us all. Your own people, alongside ours, risk their lives to disable the ancient defenses that endanger us. This is not the action of enemies, but of allies and friends. On the planet's surface, Dr. Wong and Lyra faced their greatest challenge yet. They stood before the pulsing, crystalline structure of the control interface, its alien geometry defying easy comprehension. "This is incredible," Wong muttered, his fingers hovering over the shimmering controls. "The complexity is beyond anything I've ever seen." Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly, her compound eyes scanning the interface. "Dr. Wong, I believe I understand. This system requires simultaneous input from both a human and a Barzan to deactivate." Wong nodded, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through him. "Two species working as one. Poetic, isn't it? Let's do this." As energy beams continued to barrage the orbiting fleets, Wong and Lyra positioned themselves on opposite sides of the console. They locked eyes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "On my mark," Wong said. 3, 2, 1, now." Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, fingers and appendages dancing across the alien controls. The chamber hummed with energy, the crystalline structure pulsing faster and brighter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like 1,000 crystal glasses shattering at once, the main defense grid went dark. Wong let out a whoop of triumph, but his celebration was short-lived. Alarms blared, and the chamber began to shake. "What's happening?" he shouted over the din. Lyra's mandibles quivered with fear. "It's a fail-safe protocol. The system is overloading. If we don't stop it, the entire facility will be obliterated." Wong's mind raced. He looked at his equipment, then back at the surging energy coursing through the chamber. An idea struck him. "Lyra, I need your help," he said, already pulling apart his gear. "I think I can create a makeshift energy siphon, but I need your knowledge of Barzan power distribution to channel it safely." Understanding dawned in Lyra's compound eyes. "Yes, I see. We can redirect the surge into Zar 7's power grid. It's risky, but it might work." They worked with frantic speed, Wong repurposing parts from his human equipment, while Lyra guided him on how to interface with the Barzan systems. The chamber grew hotter, the air crackling with electricity. "Now!" Wong shouted, making the final connection. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a roar like 1,000 thunderstorms, the energy surged through their makeshift siphon. The entire facility shook, lights flickering wildly. Outside, the sky above Zar 7 erupted in a spectacular display of light. Ribbons of energy danced across the atmosphere, visible from orbit and across the planet's surface. It was as if the aurora borealis had come to life, painting the world in shimmering hues of blue, green, and purple. In orbit, both human and Barzan fleets watched in awe as the planet below them lit up like a beacon. On the Prometheus, Captain Chen stood transfixed by the sight. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Admiral Vex's voice crackled over the comm. "Indeed it is, Captain. And more importantly, it seems our joint team has succeeded. The defense system is offline." As the light show faded, a new transmission came through. It was Admiral Vex's commando team, reporting success in retaking the weapons platform from Draz's forces. "Excellent work," Chen replied. "What about Draz himself?" There was a pause before the response came. "Draz attempted to escape in a small craft, but he was intercepted by one of our joint patrols. He's been apprehended and is in custody." A collective sigh of relief swept through both fleets. The immediate threat had passed. On Zar 7, High Counselor Karos stood before the massive screen in the council chamber, his legs shaking from all he had witnessed. The human ambassador's words, the incredible light show, the reports of human Barzan cooperation, it all pointed to one inescapable conclusion. He turned to face the somber faces of Earth's United Nations Security Council still displayed on the screen. His voice was firm and clear as he spoke. Honorable representatives of Earth, in light of recent events, I believe it is time for a new chapter in our intergalactic relations. On behalf of the Barzan people, I extend an official invitation to Earth to join the Barzan Galactic Council as equals. The human representatives looked stunned, then pleased. After a brief consultation, one of them stepped forward. High Counselor Karos, on behalf of humanity, we accept your invitation with gratitude and hope for a prosperous future together. As the words were spoken, something shifted in the fabric of intergalactic relations. The human and Barzan fleets, no longer adversaries, began to move into a joint formation around Zar 7. It was a sight no one could have imagined just days before. The sleek advanced human ships flying side by side with the organic-looking Barzan vessels. Aboard the shuttle, Miller and Zex exchanged a look of profound relief and excitement. Their work wasn't over, far from it, but they had taken the first crucial steps towards a new era of cooperation. "Shall we head back to the Prometheus?" Zex asked, her antennae quivering with anticipation. Miller nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Yes, let's go home. We have a lot of work ahead of us." As they maneuvered the shuttle towards the UES Prometheus, Miller couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. The journey that had begun with mockery and misunderstanding was now opening up possibilities beyond his wildest dreams. The shuttle docked smoothly with the Prometheus, the airlocks hissing as they equalized pressure. As the doors slid open, Miller and Zex found themselves face to face with Captain Chen and Admiral Vex, standing side by side. The four of them regarded each other for a moment, the weight of history hanging in the air between them. Then, simultaneously, they all broke into smiles, human lips curving upwards, Barzan mandibles clicking in their species' expression of joy. "Welcome aboard," Captain Chen said, extending her hand to Miller and Zex. "I believe we have a lot to discuss." As they stepped onto the Prometheus, symbolically bridging their two civilizations, Miller knew that this was just the beginning. The real work of building trust, understanding, in a shared future was yet to come. But for the first time since they had entered Barzan space, he felt truly optimistic about what lay ahead. The corridors of the Prometheus buzzed with activity as humans and Barzans alike prepared for the historic meetings and ceremonies to come. There was an energy in the air, a sense of excitement and possibility that was almost palpable. Miller turned to Zex, his eyes shining with drive. "Ready to make some history?" Zex's antennae twitched in agreement. "Always, Ambassador. Always." Together they strode forward into the heart of the ship, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities this new era of human-Barzan relations might bring.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.